Okay, what are you saying, people, and welcome back to my channel. Now today we have another weekly forex analysis, but before we get into that, make sure you hit the subscribe button and leave a like, and also join me on my Telegram channel. So we'll be posting different trading setups throughout the week and you don't be missing out on that. But like I said, today we have the weekly forex analysis, so let me stop talking and let's get into it. Okay, so first up we've got Euro USD. Okay, so for Euro USD on the daily chart, you can still see that we're in that uptrend in the market, but price has seemed to find some bit of resistance around there. But you can see that it's having a hard time to break through it, but also it's having a hard time to react properly to that and have a move to the downside. As you can see, we found some support around here, and price is just ranging now between these two levels. So if you want to be waiting for the break, you can wait for the break to the upside and wait for retest, and then look for longs to go to the upside, or if it breaks to the downside, again wait for the break, retest, and move to the downside. Again, this is not completely clear since we're moving in that range pattern now, so it's not clear whether we're going to get a move to the upside or to the downside for Euro USD. But again, on the monthly chart, we did break through this monthly trend line. As you can see, we've had 1, 2 and multiple there. We've had a break through it now. So if this was a false breakout, you'd be seeing USD come quite back strongly inside that trend line. But it's looking like a clean break. We could be seeing a new uptrend on the higher time frames for Euro USD. So we could be having a longer move to the upside. But since we had that big swing on the weekly chart and on the daily chart as well, we do expect people to start taking their profits and have some fall in USD before maybe a retest of the trend line or a retest of the previous resistance, and then watch price continue in that upwards trend. But as for now, it's not clear which way Euro USD is going to go. So you could just be waiting for the break of that level up there to buy, and that break there to short. And if you do get a short, we could be getting a nice swing down and test these areas. And again, if you do get a move to the upside, we could be going up to test the next levels on the higher time frames. And we do have a level around here price could be going to before we now get a reversal. Okay, so let's take a look at USD JPY. Okay, so for USD JPY, we actually came from a very strong area in the market that I was talking about last week. You can see that how strong that area is on the monthly time frame, where we have all those wicks trying to break through that area in the market. We have a wick here, another one there, another one there, a wick all the way past it, rejected back up, and again we've had another wick there. So you can see we're at a very strong place in the market in the monthly time frame, so we're bound to see a reaction on the lower time frames and have a move to the upside. And on the weekly chart, you can see that we had that candle giving us that long wick, and those a doji, and then that bullish candle to the upside. And on the daily, you can start to see that we've had that move as well. So we can expect this move to possibly carry on as well, since we're coming from that monthly area, that monthly support. So we could be getting another move to the upside to go retest this trend line here, where we can see we have 2 touches there, again 2 there, and 2 wicks there. So we could be going up to go and retest that area before either get another move down to that same support, or go and break it, and we can go and touch this monthly trend line up there. So that is the case what we're expecting for USD JPY. And for the daily chart, you still see that we've had that initial move. Looks like price could be retracing a little bit with that bearish candle there, that bearish formation, to come back and test this area in the market where we had a tough time breaking it last week. As you can see here, it's a daily level where it's acted as support, again, support. So as you know, support turns to resistance when it's broken. So we had a tough time trying to break it. So it could be a case where we're coming back to retest it, and we could be having that move to go test that trend line and either break it again or have that move back down. So that's our goal for USD JPY. And as for entries, you can simply just wait to see if we do get a move back down to this daily level. Then you can look for entries on the 4 hour and the 1 hour time frame to try and catch the next move to the upside. Or again, if it keeps moving up, just wait for price to have those pullbacks and look for entries there. Okay, so now we're going to move on and take a look at USD CAD. Okay, so for USD CAD, you can still see that we're in that downtrending market. We're expecting a move to the upside from this double bottom area and have a shift to the upside, but you can see that we clearly broke through it, had a retest, and prices continue to the downside. But I've actually adjusted my trend line on the weekly, and we've actually got a third test of this trend line. You can see we had a test there, a second there, and now we've actually had our third. So if price respects the trend line, we could be seeing a move to the upside and continue with this ascending channel on the weekly chart. As you can see, we still have that uptrend, but if you do get a break of this trend line and of that 200 moving average on the weekly chart, as you can still see that we're quite bearish on the weekly chart for USD CAD. We could be getting a move to the downside and go and test this level here in the market. As you can see, if I just draw it out, we had that strong move all the way to go reach these highs up here from this support area. We had one test and drop all the way back up. So it is a place of value where we could be expecting price to go ahead to. But nonetheless, we do have that trend line there in the market. So we could be seeing a move to the upside from there. And if we jump to the daily chart, you can still see that we actually had a small engulfing candle at that trend line. Again, it doesn't have too much significance because it is quite small and it doesn't play much significance in size between the candles coming to the downside, but it is a shift from seller to buyers, so it is a sign that potentially we could be having a move to the upside. So you could be seeing a move from that candle. And as for entries, you could be entering on that on the daily chart there, or you can be waiting for smaller entries as price pulls back and continues to the upside. And again, if you do get a break of that level, you can wait for price to go and retest that same area and then look for shorting opportunities there. Okay, so now we're going to move on to Euro GBP. Okay, so for Euro GBP on the daily chart, it appears to us that Euro GBP is sort of moving sideways now between these two levels here. There's no real clear direction for Euro GBP. We had a break of a daily trend line a while ago now, and we're expecting to the downside from that break. As you can see that we had the retest of that same trend line here, and we had the break to the downside of that trend line at this point here, and we had multiple retests, so we could be seeing price move to the downside from there. As you can see, we've had an initial push. Now price is just stuck around here, and if you just move the trend line, you can actually see that price hasn't really moved anywhere since this point here, and it's just been going up and down between those two levels. So if you go to the weekly chart, you can actually see that we're coming from a place of value, a strong resistance. As you can see, it acted very strongly as resistance here with those wicks to the upside, and again we're at that same place, and you see that we have those wicks on the weekly chart to the upside. So price is trying to break through it, but it is struggling. So it looks like we could potentially be having price hold there. So from the weekly chart, it looks like we might be getting price move to the upside one last time, and then maybe getting a move to the downside. But if we do get a break, we'll be seeing price go and retest the highs up here, where we can see we have those wicks and price rejecting there. But from a monthly perspective, it actually looks like we're having quite a big ranging pattern going on here between these two levels here. You see that price had the move to the upside, tested that level, back down, back up, moved sideways, went back up to retest that level, back down, and now it's back there. And now price is just moving sideways on the daily chart around here. So you can see we do have a ranging pattern on the monthly chart. So there's a chance we could get a move back to go retest this area before price comes back down, or either price breaks through the ranging going on in the daily and just has that down move to go retest these lows. But on the monthly, effectively, we don't have any real direction. Price is just moving sideways. We need price to break through here or break through there to have some real direction on the monthly chart. So we're just moving sideways. As for the weekly, again, we could be getting another retest of this area. If that's the case, again, you can be looking for shorting opportunities to try and catch a move to the downside. And again, if we do have a break up there where we have this level on the monthly, it will be our target. And as for the daily, it's not very clear for this pair anymore. Probably want to be seeing another move back up here, like what I was talking about on the weekly, and then see if we can get some trading setups to go to the downside, or see if price breaks there and then get moved to the downside there. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to NZD CAD. Okay, so for NZD CAD on the daily chart, you still see that we had this move to the downside from this level up here, which we were predicting for some time now. If I jump to the monthly chart, you can see that we've had this trend line here to the downside. So we've got a downtrend on the monthly chart. We've got 1, 2, and we're looking for a third test of that same trend line, and then for the price to carry on in that trend to the downside on the higher time frames. And on the weekly chart, you still see that we had all those wicks to the upside, and our prices had that reversal, and we're expecting that continue to the downside. As for targets for that price, we could be seeing a longer move all the way to go and test these lows down here, where you can see that price has tested this area at a support, again support, again support, and again support. Now we had a push to go test that trend line, so it could be coming back down to go and test that support in the market again, from a monthly and from a weekly perspective. As you can see, we had that very big bearish candle on the weekly chart that closed this week. As for entries, again, very strong move to the downside, so we'll be expecting some retracement back to the upside, and then looking for entries there on the lower time frames, or maybe even the daily chart if we get a deeper pullback to maybe this level here where we had that big bullish candle from. Maybe if price moves all the way back there, and then potentially look for some entries around there. But we're expecting that pullback soon. But for direction for NZD CAD, we're expecting this to continue to move to the downside and potentially go and test these areas down there. Okay, so next up we have AUD USD. Okay, so for AUD USD on the daily chart, you still see that we're in that uptrend in the market, although we've come up to this area in the market where price has found some resistance, and it looks like it potentially could be holding. On the weekly chart, if I zoom out a little bit, you can see why we're at this area in the market here, where you can see it's acted as very strong support in the market. Reject there, same place again, rejected again. It broke through the market, and now we're back at it. So we expect that place to act as resistance, and if we see a hold in the market and respects it, we could see AUD/USD have a move to the downside. And on the monthly chart, you can actually see that we're at a monthly trend line. We've got a test here, rejected price, went back up, test again, rejected price, we're back up again, third time rejected price, and now we're back at that same trend line. So we could be having another rejection there to the downside, since we're at that weekly level and we do have that monthly trend line. If we do get a break from this level, we could be seeing a longer move in AUD/USD to the upside. But as for now, we're at that trend line. We're starting to get those wicks on the weekly chart to the upside. So you can see that we are, I assume you can see a little bit better. We've got those wicks to the upside there. So you can see that we are having that bearish pressure coming on the higher time frames, such as the weekly, and on the daily chart as well, with some bearish candles coming in and a strong engulfing candle there. So you could be seeing AUD/USD fall to the downside, and if we do, you could be getting a longer trend in the market as it continues onto the monthly. But then again, if you do get a breakthrough here through this trend line and through that weekly level, you could be seeing AUD/USD continue to rise. But as for now, if we drop to the daily chart, we're still expecting a move to the downside. Past few days, it's just been moving sideways between this range here. So probably wanted to see price breakout either to the upside or to the downside. If you do break to the downside, you can be scaling to the low charts, looking for some entries as price pulls back to retest it. That's if it does, and look for shorts. Or again, if you do get price break through this level, you have to wait for price to go and retest it, and again look for those longs. But as for AUD/USD, we're just waiting to see if price will respect this area in the market and a break through the ranging pattern that's going on now. Okay, so let's see what's happening with GBP NZD. Okay, so for GBP NZD on the daily chart, you can see that it had that downtrend, and then price found some support against that weekly trend line that we've been talking about. We had the double bottom, and now had a push to the upside, and now price has actually hit some area in the market where potential move to the downside could be taking place. And as you can see, that we had that strong move to the upside with not much pullback, so we could be seeing price retrace a little bit, find some support again, and continue to the upside to carry on that new upwards trend in the market. And you can see that is a potential place where price could be having that reversal. You can see all those wicks around there acting as good support, and then obviously support's broken, now acts as resistance. And we also got the combination of that 200 moving average on the daily chart as well, so you could be expecting a move for the downside from that area, and then wait for price to continue in that uptrend. And on the weekly chart, you can still see that area as well with those two wicks and that strong push as well. Obviously no pullback, so we could be seeing a slight one before price continues, and we could be expecting price to reach all the way up here, where it's acted as resistance quite well there. Again, all those wicks and that push to the downside, and then it actually broke through resistance but couldn't sustain itself and fell back down. So it is a very strong place where we can see price heading towards to with that newfound bullish trend. As for the monthly chart, you still see that we're in that downward trend in the market. Price is making those lower highs and those lower lows. As you can see, we have those two touches there, 3 and a 4th one there. This could be a case where price is going to go and test the monthly again before breaking out of that channel and having moved to the downside, or it could be a case where it moves to go and test that area in the market we've been talking about on the daily time frame, and then get them moved to the downside. But on the monthly chart, the main trend is to the downside, so that's where we're expecting price to move unless we get a break of that monthly trend line. That's when we start to change our bias and have that switch from bearish to bullish. But currently we're in a bearish market on the higher time frames, so it could be getting a move to this area, or a move to go and test that monthly again before a move back to the downside. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at CAD JPY. Okay, so for CAD JPY on the daily chart, we finally had a breakthrough for this ranging pattern that we had going on for quite a while now. So we had the break. Before we had a break the previous week to the downside there, but you can see it was a false breakout and price just closed right back in the pattern. Now we had a clean break, so we could be seeing price go and retest there with the engulfing candle, the bearish engulfing candle on the daily chart, and then continue to the upside. And on the weekly chart, you can still see that we had this weekly trend line here, which could be a place where price is planning to go test that weekly trend line and either go break it and continue to go and test the monthly, or break back down and go and test the lows down here. So for the daily chart, where we're expecting this to go, we're expecting this to carry to the upside, but with that bearish engulfing candle on the daily chart, we could be seeing price come back down to retest this on the daily time frame. And if that's the case, that'd be a good place to look for entries to continue this to the upside, and we could be expecting price to go and reach trend line up there, or if not, at least this high around there. Now we're going to take a look at GBP USD. Okay, so for GBP USD on the daily chart, you can see that we had that move to the upside, that rally, and prices hit that weekly trend line there, and also found some resistance on the daily chart where we can see we had this wick around there. So we've hit that place in the market, so we could be seeing price fall lower, but obviously price has found some support around there and is struggling to break through it. So price is effectively ranging in between these two levels, so you could be seeing price either break to the upside, and then we can be looking for price to go fall back, find some support and continue to the upside on the lower time frames, or wait for some price action on the daily for some short trades, or price go and find some resistance as it breaks through the support on the intraday time frames like the 4 hour and the 1 hour, and look for selling opportunities there to get a longer move to the downside. Because if we go onto the monthly chart, you can see that we found some support around here, and very strong support actually as well, because we tried to break it quite a few times now. Price tried to break it there, couldn't, rejected, again rejected, and again rejected. Now we've got that big bullish candle on the monthly to the upside, so you could be seeing the momentum being with the bulls and price go break this trend line and start a new monthly trend to the upside. But we are at that weekly trend line there, so from that weekly trend line we have seen strong moves from the trend line. As you can see, it moved to the downside from that trend line, another move to the downside from that trend line, another move to the downside from that trend line. So we could be seeing another move to the downside from that trend line. So as for price action on the daily for that happening, it doesn't look prominent yet. Still unclear as for direction for GBP USD. But like I said, if we do get a break to the upside, we could be seeing a longer trend in the market. And if we do get a break to the downside, we could see price be moving all the way down to this level. And last but not least, we're going to take a look at GBP CAD. Okay, so for GBP CAD on the daily chart, we see that price actually came to a very strong level in the market on the weekly time frame. And if I go to the weekly, you can see white. You can see if I just drag this along, you can see very strong level. Price keeps moving up to it, rejected, moving, broke past it, fell right back in, retested it, and fell back down again. And has been stuck trying to break it ever since then as well. Now you can see we had a big candle right back to go and test it, and then we've had those 2 weeks of bearish movement to the downside. But on the daily chart, we do have some price action indicating that we could be getting a move back to the upside. As we had that impulsive move to the upside, price is moving quite slowly, correctively, found some support, and we've got some price action indicating that price was going to move to the upside again on the daily chart and go and retest that area in the market. And if we do get a break through this area in the market, and of course that weekly trend line as well, we could be seeing a larger move for GBP CAD to the upside and go and test the monthly trend line out here. But again, we're at a trend line, we're at some resistance. We're expecting price to hold there and have a move to the downside. But again, recent price action shows we're going to get a move to the upside, and if we do, you can capitalize on that move again, either buying on the daily chart candlestick there or waiting for some entries in the 4 hour time frame and ride that up. And then we'll be looking for some selling opportunities here as well as we go retest the trend line and that resistance for another move to the downside. Okay, so that's the end of the video, people. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, or if you have any questions, or if you disagree, just drop a comment and I'll get back to you. And also hit the subscribe button and leave a like and hit the bell so you don't miss any uploads in the future. But till the next one, I'll see you later.